My topic today, I'm talking about an interesting topic. I think all of us know or heard about it, which is learning. So I'm going to talk about what we do learn about learning. And in 1985, I had an English teacher, kept telling this every time in the class, comes to the classroom when I was in the high school in 1985, then you can guess my age now, saying, idiot, you and him, all of you guys, any one of you and everyone can become a president of the republic. If you want to be the president, you can become the president. And at the time, students thought that he's some psycho or has a problem telling us in high school that we can become the president. But it happened. So many people have become president at some point in time. And I was one of people who thought that, yes, I may become a president, and I really believed this idea, and kept thinking that someday I might be the president. So I wrote a book in 85, 86 about what can I do if I become a president. And I kept this thought in mind until 3 years back when we had a revolution, and I saw 2 presidents in jail, so I dropped the idea. It's not very, I totally dropped the idea of becoming a president. Seriously, I'm not joking or making fun in this picture. So I dropped the idea of being a president or even a member in the parliament or anything. But what I got from this was learning, because I kept an open eye on everything happens to me. When I meet someone, when I travel, when I read a book, when I read an article, when I speak to my wife, I have to learn a lot as well, and be careful. So I got the learning. What really stayed with me and remained with me was the learning. And the learning I'm talking about is the learning that can be transferred into actions, into deeds. The learning I'm talking about is the learning that can make you money, can make you rich, can make you happy, and can make you also to enjoy what you are doing. According to TED guidelines, I'm not here to promote myself, but it's important to tell you that I'm an assessor in quality awards, 9 quality awards. I'm running a center for organizational learning. I'm a chairman and co-founder of Organizational Learning Conference, which is a very prestigious conference in the Middle East and North Africa. I teach at the university. I have a family of 5 kids, yet I'm enjoying. People say, well, from where you get time to do this? I really enjoy every minute of what I'm doing, and I don't find any problem in doing this because I'm focused on one thing, learning. There is nothing called time management. And if you are reading some book about time management, forget it. Nothing called time management. There is only focus management. So focus on something you like, something you really have passion to. And the key word is passion. When we have passion, we use it, and it can make us different, it can make us better, it can improve our organization. I always start with some statistics. I used to read the Quality Review Journal from the American Society for Quality, and always start with some cartoon character called Mr. Pareto. So always on the first page in the magazine, they will give some statistics about quality in healthcare, quality in government, and so on. So there are some statistics talking about learning. And again, please remember that I'm trying to address the point that learning can solve our problems. Learning can make us better people. Learning can make us also rich and having a nice social status and having better and becoming even developed countries. I enjoyed the presentation before about transforming from developing to developed countries. So in the United States, the corporations, they spent annually over $50 billion on learning and development. These are statistics from a book called The Business of Learning. So 50 billion every year spent on learning and development. And these are the direct expenses. There are, of course, other indirect expenses on learning and development. Worldwide, there are $210 billion spent on learning and development. And this would be like, it made up the GDP of a group or a bunch of countries. $210 billion dollars spent on learning and development, direct learning and development activities. Is it cost or investment? The statistics, the research, every theorist and practitioner tells us investment, not cost. It is investment. When we invest in learning and development, it pays off. Companies like this, and not only these companies, but these are just some examples, they invest billions of dollars on learning and development. A company like AstraZeneca, which is a pharmaceutical company, they spend on learning and research activities every morning 14 million euros. Every day, the budget for learning, research, and development is $14 million. Euros. From where the learning comes, there is a model now, and you know, academics and practitioners also from time to time, they develop their models, and really, they made a fortune of this model, by the way. So think of a model to develop. There is a certification in this now, and there is a forum, and you become a member, and so on. 70-20-10 model, which three of academics, they came up with a model says 70% of learning of individuals comes from the job, comes from solving problems during the job. 20% comes from the direct boss, the manager. So we learn from our manager. They give us constructive feedback, sometimes not constructive, but we learn as well. Okay, sometimes it's really destructive. And 10% will come from the training. Yeah, some training managers will get upset knowing this, but we're talking about training, traditional training, where at the end you get the happy sheet and fill in and so on. Yet training is very important. But we're talking about new trend of training that depends on action learning, on solving problems, on listening to people, on sharing best practices. So not the typical traditional kind of classroom training. Myth about learning, we learn at universities and school. I don't know if people will get upset here. I say no. It's not a must that we learn at the universities and school. And if I reflect on myself, I would say during my study in the bachelor or the master, I would say I got 30% of learning from the university, and the rest I got from my colleagues, from the chats with my faculty people, my professors in the cafes and in the corridors. So you get the real learning outside the classroom. Again, I'm biased to this, so you don't need to believe me, but what I'm saying is it is not a must that bulk of our learning comes inside the classroom or in the typical university or a class. We have to preserve the learning. We have to keep it. No, we don't need to keep it. At some point in time, we will realize that we have to unlearn, which for me, a few years back, this was totally new term. I thought it's a typo error when I read it, unlearn. So sometimes we need to let go, to discard some of our knowledge and learning, really let go and try to acquire a new learning or a new knowledge to us. And emotionally, it is very difficult, really. Try it. Emotionally, if you are used to do something in a certain way, very difficult to let go this way. No, we have to learn this. So we have to learn about learning. So again, this is very important to discover our learning style. We learn in different ways. We learn in different speeds. I learn a lot from traveling, from reading. Probably others will learn better in a classroom. That's fine. We may learn from a coach or a mentor. That's fine. But we need to realize and discover consciously what is our source of learning. I learn from my kids. That's fine. No harm with this. Okay? Sometimes we say, this is not the right time. I'm so busy. I'm really having a full tray of work. It's not time for learning. Learning is something luxury. It is not luxury. It is a hygiene factor for organizational behavior people. Learning is a hygiene factor. It is not luxury at all. Bad news about learning, it is risky. Sometimes it's unsafe. Sometimes you learn something will not satisfy your boss or someone else, and you may get fired or cause yourself problems. Or learn something you are not supposed to learn at this time, so it's not easy. While you are learning, it's like you are swimming with crocodiles without any protection. Okay? It is not free. We have to invest in it. Sometimes we have to invest money Sometimes we have to invest time. Sometimes we have emotional to invest and let go things we love, we are passionate about. We have to let go. So it's not free. It requires a mindful consciousness. You can't just sit relaxed, semi-drugged and say, I'm learning. No, you have to be really conscious. You have to be attentive. Sometimes you have to take notes. Sometimes if you don't have a pen, you have to get your mobile and record something. And if you get an idea and you don't take an action within 180 seconds, it will die. There is a research on this. So if somebody gives you an idea, you've got a brilliant thing to do, if there is no action within 180 seconds, this idea will never come to you again. So take note of it, or make a call or send an email. Take action. And I hope you will take actions after this presentation, except kicking me out of this room. The good news about learning, and this is not me saying this is Jack Welch saying this, it is the competitive advantage, the only sustainable competitive advantage an organization can have, learning. It's not the IT system, it is not people even. Everybody's talking about people. It's not people, it is not the technology, it's not the building, it's not the budget, it is learning. Who learns? People learn. Individuals learn on the individual level, and we learn by coaching, through coaching, mentoring, reflection, observation, sometimes school, and train. I'm a faculty member, so by the way, so I'm not against any school or universities. Groups can learn. So we can learn into team when we have brainstorming sessions, when we have something we tried with our Center for Organizational Learning called Learning Cafe or World Cafe sometimes, so we can learn from brainstorming. We can learn from action learning, so while we are doing, so learning by practice, which is a big domain called action learning. I was in London last week signing an agreement with the International Foundation for Action Learning. It was established in 1977 by Ray Grievance. So action learning is very important, and this again, I'm talking about big business, industry of certification, of learning, transforming knowledge into practice. So it's a big business. And Learning Cafe. Organizations can learn. Fantastic. This is the hot topic, learning organizations, which can be done through using organizational learning techniques, which summarizes all of this. So I'm not bringing something new here. I'm just trying to connect the dots about the topic called learning. So we learn from self-assessment, audit, scenario planning, benchmarking, quality awards, self-assessment, and name it. And guess what? Who else can learn? Governments can learn. I hope so. Especially with the Arab Spring, and everybody thinks that, no, I am different. I'm not like that country. You get the same result. You keep doing what you are doing, you will keep getting what you are getting. So governments can learn. Yeah, there are some doubts, but there is evidence also. I'm reading a book now, I didn't finish it, it's 406 pages, called The Almost Nearly Perfect People. And it talks about the Nordic miracle, Finland, Sweden, Denmark. And I was sitting in that conference last week in London with 2 people from Finland. So when I know from Finland, I say, oh, wow, I'm sitting to the almost nearly perfect people. I say, what are you saying? I told them I'm reading a book now, and luckily I had the book in my case. I said, look, and they were so happy, that book talking about Denmark, and they're happy, but it is a fact. Denmark is the happiest country on earth. Denmark, since 1974, with the surveys from the UNESCO, surveys from OECD, they get the happiest people in the world. Yes, and you can verify this, you can check it. Yet, Denmark has the highest taxes in the world. 42% of their income is a tax. 42. Yet they are more than 42? More than 42. So they are the happiest people on earth, yet they have the highest tax. Oprah Winfrey was there. She said, the only place I saw mothers leave their kids in the buggies outside the cafes, and they have cafe inside, is Copenhagen. In Denmark, you can leave your kids outside the cafe in their buggies and sit there with your friend and mingle and have coffee. It is safe to that extent. In Norway, they have the speed fines. It's linked to your income. So if you have low income, you pay $5. And if you have a high income, you pay. And that's learning. They didn't get it out of vacuum. They studied, they learned from their experience, which I wish it will be implemented in every country. Okay? I envy the rich guys, so they have to pay more. So the 32,600 is the record of the highest fine. Okay. Acquisition, this is the definition of learning. It's say you acquire knowledge through teaching or through attending classes. I disagree with this, though it's Oxford Dictionary, but I say we can learn from other sources, apart from classroom, apart from being taught. So we learn from experience. To summarize, learn how to learn. Start with this. Find your own way. And no secret, I share with you, whenever I feel I'm out of learning, or I need the dose of learning, I'm like addicted, so I want my dose of learning, I travel. I go abroad for a day or two. I learn, and I start reading, and I reflect, and thanks God, I write now. So last week in the London Philharmonic Orchestra, the guys were doing fabulous music in London, and I was taking notes what I'm going to do, and the connection between learning and the music, and how the conductor is like the leader in the team, and how everybody is having harmony, and I'm reflecting on the orchestra. I wrote a 4-page article about the connection between learning and classical music. And the conductor was Osmo Veniska, a Finnish guy. He was playing Islami, which is a fantasy, kind of lovely music, was composed in 1814 by a Russian musician, and it was Oriental from the Arab world. And you can imagine I'm sitting in London cold, listening to Arab music and writing my article. Okay, separate noise from signal. We need to learn how to separate noise from signal, so we focus on what matters. Don't focus on everything, don't measure everything. Focus on what matters. Dedicate some time daily or weekly for the learned lessons. Have your own learning log, and please take note, make sure you have this log. Learning can make the good to become great. It is the only sustainable advantage. Or a company or individual. The era of CLOs, Chief Learning Officers, is coming. Become a reflective practitioner. Learning is not compulsory, neither is survival. Nobody will put a gun in your head and say you have to learn, or you have to live. So you have to learn, be calm, keep learning. Learning will keep you young and will make you a better person. Thank you very much.